This is probably one of the most painful lessons I've ever learned about success. Hey Salceologists, welcome back to my channel. If you are new, my name is Angela. I'm the owner and founder of Salceology Jewelry. So I've been a small business owner for nearly 3 years now, but maybe something that you guys don't know about me is that I have been working in the STEM field as a woman in STEM for over 14 years. I still work in the industry now as my full-time job while I run Salceology on the side, and I've actually been in the workforce, like in general, working in other industries for over 18 years. Now I'm telling you guys now, I have learned my share of lessons in this lifetime, not just in career, but in just personal, everyday life in general. I could write a book about everything I have learned as a woman in STEM, as a business owner, as a woman in the workforce. And I wanted to share it with you guys because I wanted to maybe share my experiences so that you could take it into consideration when you are making some important decisions about your career. So I was thinking to make this like a multiple part series. I also want to give you guys a bit of background about my perspective and where my advice comes from, just to give you a bit of context about why I'm talking about these particular things, to take that into consideration. So just for context, I am the eldest daughter of a Filipino immigrant family. If you know, you know. If you don't know, don't worry about it. You don't want to know. My family came from incredibly humble beginnings. So when we first moved here, my parents came here with about $20 in their pocket to start and begin their new life. So throughout my childhood, we didn't really have a lot of money growing up, and I watched my parents work really, really hard for everything that we have in our lives, and I think that was incredibly inspiring. That inspired my work ethic now. I was the first person in my family to study at an Australian university, finish a bachelor's degree, and also finish a postgraduate qualification. When I was studying, I was working multiple jobs, not just to support me, but to support the family. So when I was studying and getting my qualifications, I would work 2 to 3 part-time jobs all at the same time while I was studying and trying to get really good grades. I worked about 3 jobs during my bachelor's degree, and for my postgraduate qualifications, I would work maybe 2 jobs on top of that at the same time. And during my studies, I've worked in many different industries. So that includes things like retail, hospitality. I was a waitress at one point. I was a bartender at one point. I was a cleaner for a lot of different public events. That was interesting. And I was also someone's personal assistant. I also was a receptionist for a good portion of my life. I've worked in a lot of different industries. But in the first few years of my career establishing myself in the STEM industry, a lot of opportunities were not open to me at that time. So I spent most of those years really working hard and networking just to have any door, any opportunity open for me. So throughout my bachelor's degree, I was working really hard to get some really good grades, and the university gave me a massive opportunity during that time to start teaching while I was a student. I didn't realize at that time how big that opportunity was, because it shaped my entire career in STEM, and it was one of the first pathways and opportunities that made me enter the academia field. 11 years later, I became a lecturer at a university teaching anatomy, physiology, and public health, just from those very first opportunities while I was studying. I was also a biomedical scientist as well. I worked in the lab coat and all, and I would work on experiments in the lab and teach the students as well in a laboratory setting. I decided after many, many years of lecturing and teaching in the university setting that I wanted to do something different. I wanted to be out in the field to have a bigger contribution to the health of the community. And so I decided to go into public health. So I work in public health, but I also run Salceology as well, concurrently. The lessons that I'm going to talk about today come from the perspective that because I was the first in my family to enter the workforce, to study in Australia, and to, I guess, navigate through the STEM system, I made a lot of mistakes throughout my career, simply because I just didn't know any better. I want to share that with you guys so that it can empower you to make some very informed decisions about your career, and also so that you don't make the same mistakes as me and waste a lot of time. Remember that my advice is not always going to apply to you, and you just take what resonates and kind of ignore what doesn't resonate. Number one, this is probably one of the most painful lessons I've ever learned about success. When you are doing something positive with your life, it doesn't matter how big or small it is, you will always attract a certain amount of hate and negativity for it. You could even just be breathing and someone will have an issue with that. And that just comes with the reality of the dynamics between, humans and when it comes to success. The hate and the negativity will most likely come from someone that you know. Unfortunately, your biggest hater can be a family member, a very, very, very close friend. I don't know why that's popping up. Okay. A family member, a very close friend, or even a partner. Your biggest fans, or people who will celebrate your success the most, tend to be people who do not know you as well, sometimes even strangers. Now, I have a few theories as to why this happens. Why is it that the people who know us the most tend to not want to celebrate our success with us or start to become haters after a while? One of the reasons why I believe this happens is because the people you surround yourself with tend to come from the same walks of life. And when they start to see that good things are happening to you, but they're not happening to them, they start to question why good things aren't happening for them. So they start to compare themselves to you. The ones that have tied a certain level of worth to you or a certain perspective about you in their minds might not understand why you have that certain level of success, because in their minds they believe that you do not deserve it. Just remember that people's perspectives of you is none of your business. Just because someone thinks a certain way about you and has a certain level of worth attached to what they believe you deserve, that doesn't mean that this is the truth about who you are. Remember that people's perspectives are shaped according to their environment, how they were raised, and their life experiences. So basically, they see the world through an incredibly different lens from you. And sometimes that lens is a bit skewed in terms of how far they can see. Now, remember that people are incredibly complex. I don't like to believe that people are malicious. It's really important to surround yourself with people who care about you, who want the best for you, and who want to clap for your successes. But at the end of the day, you should never have to walk around on eggshells when good things happen to you. You should have the confidence and the courage to share that with your close group of friends and have them be happy for you. That is what you deserve. If you've got people in your life who do not do that, you have to get rid of them. As much as good things are going to happen to you in the future, that can all be sabotaged if you've got people around you who may be jealous or are resentful and don't want to see you succeed. You deserve to be able to share your success with other people and have them celebrate those successes for you. Number 2, your success in all aspects of your life is tied directly to your self-worth. One of the most important pieces of advice that I can give to women, or for anyone for that matter, is to make sure that you take the time to cultivate a positive relationship with yourself as your number one priority. The reason why I say this is because we decide what we are worthy of. We also are the ones that set the boundaries for how other people treat us. We decide what we tolerate in this life, in every aspect of our life, not just our career. If you decide that you are not worthy of certain opportunities in life, then those opportunities will not come to you. If you do not believe that you are worthy of a certain salary, if you are worthy of being paid for your time, if you are worthy of a better work-life balance, or for better working conditions, or for allowing yourself to be seen, in your career or in your relationships, or, have your needs considered in any aspect of your life, then that's what's going to happen. If you do not set strong boundaries with people and all the different aspects of your life, including, your work life, people are going to walk all over you. They're going to use you. You are going to be undervalued, underpaid, under everything. Societal norms and cultural norms, I think, have taught a lot of women to be the nice, compliant girl, because if you're not, people won't like you and you'll be problematic. And I think that is absolute BS. If anything, a woman with strong boundaries is actually more respected. Do not be afraid to show people how to treat you, and do not be afraid to walk away from people or situations who are not serving you and respecting your boundaries. Remember that. Number 3, you have to give yourself permission to take up space in your industry if you want to be successful and reach your potential. Now, if you are someone who has never heard about the saying to take up space, what that means is to give yourself permission to have your presence seen and noticed in every aspect of your life, especially your career. One of my most favorite quotes in the world that I live by is, when they don't invite you to take a seat at the table, make sure you bring a folding chair. I love this quote so much, and it's so powerful because it encourages people to take up their space. There are going to be times in your career where really powerful and influential people are making decisions about a bigger issue. And sometimes they do not invite you to that table. They do not ask you to speak and share your opinion and your perspective and your ideas. When they don't do that, that doesn't mean that you hide in a corner and say, oh, they don't want to listen to me, so maybe, my voice is not valuable. When those moments happen, it's important to pull up a folding chair and sit at that table. Force people to listen to you and what you have to say. Do not let anyone tell you or treat you like your voice doesn't matter. It was very rare for people in the industry to give me an opportunity to speak about things that I cared about. People didn't know who I was, they didn't care about my opinion, and so subconsciously I used to feel like an imposter. The imposter syndrome was real in academia, and I thought, well, if people don't really invite me to these forums and ask for my opinion or take me seriously, then maybe my opinion doesn't matter. And that is so far from the truth. Now, fast forwarding years later, where I've been in the industry for a lot longer, I've developed my work ethic. I'm very used to being around powerful and influential people. I've entered senior levels of leadership, and I have more confidence in my abilities as a woman in STEM. This is not something that I do anymore. As someone who's come from a minority group, one of the reasons why I went into public health is because I have lived experience of how our community's health and well-being get impacted by decisions made at a higher level. I wanted to be part of that conversation, to speak on behalf of the communities that I represent so that they have a voice. So the perspective changes. I used to worry about people laughing at me or not taking my voice into consideration or looking like an idiot in these sorts of settings. But now what I fear is not being laughed at. People laugh at me all the time, by the way. It's just a matter of life. It's about the fear of what happens when you do not speak your truth in really important forums where important decisions are being made in the industry. That is my fear. I cannot sleep at night knowing that I had an opportunity to say something and I didn't get to say it. So remember that I know sometimes it's really hard to overcome feeling like an imposter in these sorts of settings. And it's really hard to sometimes speak your truth because, you know, the people around you can be really intimidating. But just remember that I believe everything happens for a reason. There is a reason why you, with your own personal perspectives and experiences, are in a position where you're speaking at a particular table where important decisions are being made. There is a reason for that, and the reason is because you have to be present and your voice needs to be heard. Number 4, you create your own luck. So when I was a lot younger, I always believed that certain people in society and in life just seem to be lucky in life. They always attract the opportunities, they always have good things happen to them. And I always thought that that was only reserved for certain types of people, and that type of luck would never happen to me. Now, fast forward years later, I actually realized that that was a self-limiting belief and just all in my head. And the reality is you can create your own luck. How do we do this? So in order to create your own luck, you have to always put yourself in a position that is ready to receive an opportunity when it comes to you. An easy way is to look presentable at work. There is a reason why I sell jewelry for STEM women, and that's because when people show up to work looking presentable, studies have shown that other people tend to trust them a lot more and therefore give them more opportunities just because of the way that they're dressed. Because I don't know, humans are a bit weird. They think, oh yeah, she takes herself seriously, I'll take herself seriously. Never underestimate the power of a small conversation at work. There are so many people who you walk past every day at work and they have different networks and experiences and connections in the field that you might be able to discover for yourself just by simply having a conversation with them and building a rapport with them. It's even things like having positive habits in the morning that can set you up for success throughout the day. So that's things like having a good amount of sleep, or having an appropriate breakfast in the morning to keep you sustained, or giving yourself enough time to show up to work in the morning a little bit earlier than usual just to help you settle in and get started. You know, even though these things are really small habits, it really does reduce your stress when you come to work, which means that instead of fumbling about and, you know, being all very closed off to opportunities that you may have in front of you, you are more open to those opportunities. You're a bit more relaxed. You're more open to receive. So, you know, there are a lot of ways that you can do this. I can talk about this in another video if you guys want. Now, the last life lesson I'm going to talk about today is the importance of direction and prioritizing that over speed when it comes to making decisions about your career. It's important to just take a bit of a break, and every now and then, maybe every 6 months, maybe every 12 months or whatever, take the time to take a break and have a look at your career trajectory and figure out whether you're on the right track to where you want to be. Sometimes what happens is we get really caught up in our jobs and, you know, we're going a million miles per hour. Sometimes we forget to stop and really think about the decisions we're making in our careers. And then sometimes when you're not paying attention and your head is down and you're work, next thing you know, your career has started to go off on a tangent and off to a different track. The direction of your career is a lot more important than the speed of it, because you can go really fast and go really hard in your career, but you might experience roadblocks later in life when you get to a destination that might not be aligned to what you want out of your career and your career goals. So even if you are slower in terms of your pace when it comes to success, I believe it's more valuable to take the time throughout different stages of your career to really kind of do like a check-in to say, is this right for me? Is this aligned with what I want from my life? And then sort of pivot or kind of make decisions to tweak your career journey a little bit to make sure it's more aligned. And there you have it. Those were some of the lessons that I wanted to share with you today about things that I've learned in my career, being in the STEM industry for over 14 years. If you enjoyed that, please let me know, and I'll see you in the next video. See ya. So a fun fact that you guys might not what? Entrepreneur. Manure. Entrepreneur. No, we're not using that word. So before I became an entrepreneur, I cannot say that word. So before I became a small business owner,